There's an episode of This American Life that focuses on people who were sure that they had made the right decision in the moment. But in hindsight, we would all judge that they probably didn't make the right decision. So an example of that is one of the people who was interviewed like passed up on the opportunity to get in on the internet at the ground floor. They were like, "This is a silly idea. Who would want this?" Right? And of course, we're all using the internet pretty much nonstop throughout the day. So my question to you is, what is
I want
something
more
now?
Ira Glass voice from you, Flo. I want like
I'm sorry.
these are people who they thought they were making the right decision at the time.
I
Oh my
do not
God,
have a
that's
good
so
Ira
good.
impression, and you just nailed that.
You know what it is? It's because you're not a white man.
Maybe that's it. Maybe my voice is a little too black and womanish to
I'm Ira Glass.
to strike the tone.
This is
But
my
I'm really
guy.
curious, like, do you all have anything that for you is like, oh, wow, I really thought in the moment that was the right decision and now it's not? Because I have a very local one that I am fully prepared to admit to everyone who listens to our show today. And for me, that one is
Yeah, you go first because I feel like this one requires a little bit of thought.
Man,
Yes,
it requires
take
it requires some thought, but also it's like
I think that this one requires a little thought.
we also have to have like the sound of like, you know, some sort of like background noise to
Mhm.
make it a full-on NPR situation.
Some B-roll, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Some
Yes.
gnat sounds is what they call on the
yeah.
radio.
I needed to
Yeah.
prepare more for this. So for me, it is that I was a almost 12-year, I think it was 12-year season ticket holder with the Sacramento Kings. And the entire time that I was a season ticket holder, I went to the majority of the 44 games each year. And for the most part, the Kings were terrible and had losing seasons. And here we are midway through January, the first year when I said, you know what, I'm not going to renew the tickets this year. And they are ranked third in the Western Conference and at present have 27 wins, which several years that I was a season ticket holder was the total amount of wins they had for the entire season.
Full season. Yeah. Yeah.
And so I can confidently look back and say, of all the decisions I've made recently, the decision to, in the year of our Lord, 2022, say, you know what, I'm done watching the Kings is one that I am probably going to regret.
Oh God, that's a good one.
As
Like
someone who cannot care less about sports ball,
Mm-hmm.
I don't get it. But I understand that everybody's really excited about that purple beam going up.
Yes.
all
it's
the
a
time.
cultural phenomenon, right?
Yes.
Like, you know, back when I was younger, I used to ask my sisters, like, why are you so into this show or something? And then you're like, you know, or into like celebrity culture, and they would look me dead in the eye and be like, why are you into sports? And I was like,
Mhm.
got it. Like,
Right.
and that's what
No.
led me down the path of nihilism, because nothing matters. We
Mhm.
create our own meaning, and
Yes.
it's totally fine to like whatever it is. We
And
like.
yeah, and that is why I am a nihilist. The
Yes.
end.
that led me down the path 100%.
Shannon, I think you would understand
Existentialism,
it.
really.
Maybe this
Okay,
is
I'm not saying I don't get the passion for sports
Okay.
ball.
No. I was saying like I think you could appreciate just how like foolish that this feels if I were to say like you and Nate decide that you're going to leave the US because you're burned out from doing all the great work that you all have done and it's time to get some rest. And the moment you leave, the US declares housing a human right and starts actually like doing things. And you'd be like, wow, I've been here dealing with this foolishness the whole time. And the moment I decide to leave, you all decide to get your act together.
Apparently,
Okay.
they didn't
That's how
need
I
me.
feel, right? Like I sat there and watched them lose for 11 years. 44 games a season. And then this year they decide to get it together the moment that I'm not sitting there in my tickets 44 games a season.
I would like to thank you for that example because you have made it seem to our listeners that I am like the most selfless human being, because my example is housing as a human right. I thought it was going to be something cat related.
Mm,
I was
yeah.
trying, but I couldn't figure out how you win with cats. Like I feel like there's nothing but losing propositions there.
mhm.
Okay, so what's our hindsight regret?
You think I have
That's the
anything
question.
like that lined up? I was wrapped by Flo's story. I don't know.
I'm also like, I'm really bad at these kinds of activities because I try really hard, like, because of a lot of things that like this, that's not what this opener is about. I try really hard not to like do the whole regrets thing.
I do that too. I'm
Yeah.
very much like, if something where I didn't do a thing and it goes the other way, I like immediately try and just like zen it out and then move on with my life.
I think, yeah, I guess I would say like if some of the things that come up for me are like potentially like opportunities for travel that I've not taken, or like
Mhm.
opportunities to like live in different spaces that I didn't take because I prefer staying close to, I prefer California, I guess. I don't know.
Mhm.
Something like, it would be something like that, like missed out experiences, which is
Which
essentially
is
what you're
what Flo
saying.
just said too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I can't think of like a specific example. I was going to say like I had this opportunity. I was going to like move to Chicago.
Mm.
So I was gonna do that. It was gonna be great, but that's not like a thing that I regret not doing because I would have frozen my tits off.
Mhm.
You
Um,
do that there. Yeah.
Yeah.
it's just like no tits because everyone's have just frozen right off.
I don't
Yeah.
regret leaving the Midwest, simply because I prefer to have my tits.
Yeah. Also, you freeze your tits off at anything below
In like
70 degrees.
45 degrees.
So,
That's true.
ooh, it's so
You were
cold.
ill-equipped. You were ill-equipped to be there in the first place.
Right.
It was a problem at 70 degrees. It's a problem when it's -10, believe me.
I wish I had a compelling story in the way that Flo did. I mean, whatever. It's also a story of anyone's life. Who knows Flo? I
You know what
regret
I
not
regret?
being Flo.
Not asking Flo to give us like a little bit more
Right?
context before the intro.
No, Flo, don't tell us. We
This
do
is
way
what I'm
better when
regretting
we
right now.
we
Not
do way better
prepared.
when we just get it on the fly. And now we're both sitting here like a
Now
couple
we
of
are
dumbasses.
just, yeah, dick in hand.
Hashtag no regrets, Flo.
Yeah.
So, fuck this question. It's so stupid.
Oh man, way to make us look like fools on your first step back.
I was like,
this
you all
season.
are just more evolved humans than I am. Like you just
No,
kind of
please.
zen out these like moments of regret, whereas I detail them so I can go back and just be like, oh wow, I really
Zenning
think
it
it
out also
really-
implies that maybe I'm not growing from it either.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think it just means that we are more prone to make the same mistake over and over and over
Right,
again,
yeah,
rather
exactly.
than learn from.
Well, I kept trying not to fall into the sunk cost thing, which is like, well, I've been doing it for so long. What if this is the year? I was just like, yeah, like this probably isn't the year. And then sure enough, this literally was the year. So,
Yep. Okay, well, I love this discussion. But
We really hit all of it.
maybe we should why don't we just start with the show? This is American Life, and I'm Ira Glass.
Voices, things we say, voices, they're in your head. All the voices heard.
Oh, hello everyone. You have Kempa.
And Shannon.
And Flo. And I'm
Trying
a little scared. That was
trying
so
something
aggressive.
new.
Yeah.
You know, like I don't want to be this little, pensive Ira Glassed character all the time. I want to know I can be aggressive. I want to know I can be a shock jock,
Mission accomplished.
Okay.
Did I shock
You
you
shocked us.
I
That's
was
for
shocked.
sure.
as a
I
radio
was,
jock?
yeah,
Okay, good.
I was unprepared for that. So
We need some like noises that you can do like on a little like fart noises.
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Pew, pew, pew. Yeah, I would dig that if we did that.
I can just fart
Um
on command if you want.
burps. Yeah.
mm,
Okay, yeah. If I wink, Shannon,
not Shannon's
fart
thing.
or burp on command.
Not
Just
Shannon's
like,
thing, please.
Left eye fart, right eye burp.
got it.
All
Because
right,
I'm
this
really
is
good at
great.
watching the screen recording.
Yeah, you're definitely not doing your emails for work during the show sometimes.
Guilty.
Guilty.
No Skylar today. I super happy to have Flo back. Your first one of the season.
I'm back. Whoop whoop.
Oh yeah. Flo, first things first, how was your trip to Ghana?
Ghana was amazing. By far, it is my favorite place on earth.
Wow.
I just 3 weeks there was amazing. I had such a wonderful time. I felt so at peace, and so very grounded and appropriately connected and disconnected. It was just a wonderful trip. It was like exactly what I needed in that moment, and I'm really glad I did it. And I think I found a way to be able to both travel and vacation and come back feeling rested and rejuvenated. So, and I have a whole closet now full of brand new clothes that I got made while I'm there. So,
Sick.
yeah, it's great.
Yeah. You documented the whole trip. You spent just about a month out there with a
Mhm.
bunch of friends and your mom, like family
Mhm.
too. Like it
Yes,
seemed incredible.
it was.
And you were keeping folks updated too through messages. And it
Yes.
wasn't until your last day in town that I actually read through all of it.
That's awesome.
But I was like, oh fuck, I don't want Flo coming back and me like not knowing anything about this.
That's awesome. Yeah, I got to see art. I went to Afrochella and Afro Nation. I went to the slave dungeons and to Slave River, which was really just a meaningful experience, especially with my mom and my aunt. And so it was just wonderful. It was exactly what it met me where I was in that moment. And so I'm really glad that I was able to do it.
Awesome. Welcome home. And watching Shannon wrestle with her cat
I
during
know. I'm
all
like,
of this discussion has
what is
been
happening here?
wonderful. The YouTubers are really getting a show here.
He's being a real shithead.
Well, just to begin, folks, we love what we do. If you love what we do, hey, drop us $5 a month. What's $5 a month? That's like a happy hour beer here in Sacramento these days. That's like a pretty nice coffee at like, I don't know, Scorpio or something, right? Like it's just $5. Throw us $5. We're trying to do good work for you. Over at patreon.com/voicesrivercity. If you even do that, as little as $5, there is premium content only for our patrons. Flo and Skylar did a hilarious episode on their review of Avatar. That's the beginning of the Voices. What is it? The Voices Cinematic Universe.
Yes, the VCU. We are coming back at you again next month after we go see you. We know you're waiting for it. Cocaine Bear.
Oh my God. Which we might need to have a full cast for that one. For
I have
Cocaine
no
Bear.
idea what this is.
It's a show about a bear that did a bunch of cocaine, and I believe outside of Memphis.
Yes, and then just like what happens at that point, and it comes
based
out
on a
I
true
believe
story.
February 24th.
Based on a true story, and it involves the guy who did those like IKEA TikToks that were hilarious. Like everything about the preview exciting.
Also, it's a real story.
Yeah, it really happened. A bear did a lot of cocaine and then killed people. I also did an episode with Skylar where I discussed some socialist things that I wrote about on Jacobin. We're doing more and more of this. We're going to have patron only events. Please become a patron. We love you. we'd love to have you at these events. All right, let's get started with the actual fucking show.
Mhm.
Okay. Homeless. Have you guys heard about this thing, homelessness?
Never.
Yeah.
Tell me more.
Yep.
Yeah.
So apparently in California, liberal California, there's a problem here, and the people in power do not view housing as a human right. And so we have a record number of people living and dying in the streets. What are our electeds doing to solve this? It might surprise you. Flo, can you tell us about a couple of bills in the California state capitol that have been introduced, and how those may or may not solve our homelessness crisis, which of course is impacting everyone, including not least our unhoused community?
Yeah. So in December, our friends in the Senate and the state Senate decided that they were going to hop in with some hot takes and solutions to homelessness. And so they introduced a bill on the Senate side. And then just a few days ago, a very similar bill was introduced on the Assembly side. All of these bills have been introduced and supported by California Republicans. And essentially what they're trying to do is, unfortunately, they are taking what we have seen happen locally in both Sacramento and LA, and making it statewide. And that is basically making it illegal to exist. And that may seem like I am, be exaggerating or going a little bit too far, but literally these bills would prohibit a person from sitting. I'm going to start there and say that again: sitting, lying, sleeping, storing, using, maintaining, or placing personal property in any street, sidewalk, or other public property that is within, for one of the bills, the Assembly bill, 500 feet, for the Senate bill, 1,000 feet of a school, daycare center, park, or library. So you
These
can't
senators, these senators need more elbow room. So this is Assembly Bill 257
Yes.
by Josh Hoover of Folsom, so a
Yes.
Sacramento region person.
Yes.
And then Senate Bill 31 of Senator Jones, who I'm not sure who that is.
Yeah. So and it's also the co-authors on that one are basically all of the Senate Republicans, right?
There's only 8 of them. So
when Yellow, Yellow is from our area, actually, of the Yellow car fame, Wilk, etc. So yeah, so on both sides we have local support from regional Republicans for saying that it is illegal to sit. And it's very confusing to me because there are both park benches as well as bus stops that will exist within 1,000 feet of these places. So I'm not sure.
You can't sit on them.
We're not allowed to sit on them. And if we happen to have a bag with us at the time, we're now storing our personal property. It's just outrageous.
It's bonkers that this shit still comes rolling around, because like these no sit, lie, sleep ordinances and now this like potential legislation, like this has been shit that people have been fighting against locally for decades. I mean, in Sacramento, the no sit, lie
this was literally law of the land.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah, 100%. It is. I do not understand how like year after year, like decades in to the crisis of homelessness as we understand it now, we continue to come back, not we, but assholes continue to come back to like these like criminalizing these ideas which criminalize folks who are unhoused as like solutions to the issue. The solution is really fucking simple.
Give them housing.
Just a little bit of housing, a little bit of supportive services. Like, I don't know. It's
and all of, at the local level, this was kind of couched as critical infrastructure, right? So the idea behind it, especially in Sacramento, was, look, we have a critical infrastructure list.
So let's bring that back and just like lay out that groundwork. This is a state bill put forward, 2 state bills put forward by Republicans. That's basically like keep kids away or keep unhoused folks away from like schools and libraries that they use all the time, and like bus stops, which they often very much need, like keep them away from these things. Whereas the federal government calls critical infrastructure things like, oh, I don't know, like power plants or like, you know, levees, like things that are actually critical infrastructure.
Absolutely. And just for a comparison, because we've actually been working on this, our organization has actually been helping to map out like the difference between the two. So if you look at the federal list in California, it's about 1% of the 1,500 places that are now considered to be critical infrastructure in Sacramento, which encompass a little over 40% of the entire city's like square mileage. So basically, we have just deemed these places off limits for folks.
For any unhoused person to sleep anywhere near. And so just to bring this back, sorry, I got a little off track here, but you know, these bills were put out by Republicans in the Assembly and Senate. But here locally in October of last year, Angelique Ashby, and folks, those of you asking us like, oh, what's wrong with Angelique Ashby? This is it right fucking here. Like, I don't know how many ways you can tell you she's like Darth Karen, man. Like, she proposed legislation within our city to start considering schools, what is it, you know, what was the term again?
Critical
infrastructure,
so
that like folks who are unhoused can't sleep anywhere near one.
And this is there's there's a number of things that are wrong with this.
She's now a senator, by the way.
One of the things is that it creates a situation where people are then profiling folks, right? Like, and problematic, number one. Also, it sends a very clear elitist and exclusionary message that essentially is only housed people are worthy of taking up space.
Yes.
Because unhoused children like are all over the place. And in Sacramento, you know, specifically, the numbers of unhoused students are bonkers, right? They're just like through the fucking roof. But you can't be near schools, bus stops, levees, like all of the, like, you just create this situation where you push vulnerable people further and further out into the margins, so that then like you create more barriers for them, and then accessing any of the absolutely pathetic fucking piece of shit services that are supposed to be like helping to lift people up and out of the crisis is like next to impossible, because you can't fucking go anywhere without first being profiled as a person experiencing homelessness who is taking up space where it's illegal to take up space.
And the thing is, like, this is written in such a broad sweeping way. The first thing that I thought actually when I saw it was like, oh, this is California's version of stop and frisk. Because now,
Sure.
If you are sitting, lying, have your belongings with you, whatever, near any of these places where we know that, you know, Black, brown, low income, and unhoused folks often are congregated, this is carte blanche. I mean, all it says is sitting. Like, it doesn't say, like, I just want to remind everyone that existing in public is not a crime until we make it one. It's not a crime. And
it's no longer public if that is a crime.
Yeah. And so libraries, like, why would you not want people to be able to sit near one of the only, you know, facilities that you can go to for recreation where you're not required to buy anything? Like, you can't hang out, you know, at coffee shops. I mean, sometimes they'll let you hang out, but the idea is that it's a shop and they're selling you something. Like, most places are selling you an entrance fee, selling you an item. Like, they are not just free places to hang out. Libraries are a free place to hang out, and a lot of their services are provided to people who are unhoused. Why would they be listed on here? Like, daycare centers and school, why would they be listed on here? Like,
it's an arbitrary law. When Angelique Ashby a Democrat, by the way, who is now a senator, formerly a city council member, when she introduced this in Sacramento, Councilmember Valenzuela, Katie Valenzuela of District 4, very correctly said, well, okay, it all happened as a result of a circumstance where an unhoused person who was going through a mental health crisis was doing inappropriate things in front of a school, basically, right? In broad daylight, happening during the day. And then they passed this thing that's like, well, then you can't camp within 500 feet of a school. But the fact of the matter was, as Councilmember Valenzuela pointed out, this guy was not camped anywhere near this school at night when he was sleeping. So it's neither here nor fucking there. What it's really doing is saying everyone in a tent, in their eyes, in these right-wing Democrats' eyes, is somebody who will act inappropriately in front of children, is somebody who they do consider a drug user, is somebody who they do consider a threat to their children. And that's what makes it so fucked up in my eyes.
I mean, I think it also sends a very clear message that the only way that our elected leaders, both Democrat and Republican, the only
Apparently,
way that they are prepared to address the crisis of homelessness is by first criminalizing people,
Yes.
right? It's not, so the thing that we hear so often from especially Democrats as they're trying to get their seats is like homelessness is the thing. It's the thing that you platform on, right? Like,
Yep.
here's the plan. Here's how much money I'm going to put toward it. Here's how I'm going to do this, that,
Just
and
all
the
the
other
things.
thing.
Yep.
And when it really comes down to it, the inability for leaders to take a humane position that recognizes the dignity of people who are literally suffering day in and day out on the streets of Sacramento and all over, like, they just can't fucking do it.
Mm-mm.
It's because it's like there's an inability to the mess. It really is about this like inability to see the worth of
Yes.
people who find themselves experiencing homelessness. Like,
Yep.
and it's, I don't know, the narrative is often like, like, for example, this situation in Sacramento where the guy, had his hog out, and so then they were like, well, now we can't, you shouldn't be around schools, whatever. It's like, you can't do that even if you're housed.
Right.
So why do we have to create
that's already a
situation?
rule.
Yeah, like, why do we have to then do another thing? Like,
Yeah.
can we all just agree that, like, dudes standing by school
No
with their
hogs allowed.
out, like,
Yeah.
it's just a no hogs allowed zone.
Yeah.
We don't have to then create this other thing, like,
Yes.
I don't understand why we have to cut, like, just like make it make sense.
We do understand, right? We do
Well, yeah,
understand
yeah.
because they view unhoused folks as criminals writ large. That is how they view them. And like that to me is what's really important and what we really need to, and I think this year we need to really start elevating, because we've seen them, especially these conservative Democrats, start co-opting our language to say and push forward with really fascist policy. And what they're doing that effectively, like by shielding themselves, by shielding their own rhetoric with our children, right? Our children are in front of us now, so our children can't be, and then they shield it with like, people who are in wheelchairs, you have to get homeless folks away from the sidewalk because of our folks who are in wheelchairs, when it's like children and disabled folks not only are not by large affected negatively by the, like, more so or less so than the rest of us by the instance of homelessness, they are people who are at a very large level experiencing it, right? And that's what the big fucking mind trick is that these conservative folks, these business leaders, these folks like Robin Swanson, who we'll talk about, that's what they're doing.
and also let's just like call it out, right? Like our folks who use assisted, mobility like devices, whatever they may be, have been calling out these scooters and bikes blocking the path of egress for a very long time. And I don't see you all hopping, up to pass policy to change that, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Because that's
Were you at McKinley
business,
Village on that
right?
shit?
And because that it's useful for you to be able to do. I think I also, I come with the healthy Black woman's cynicism about people's motives around this, because I feel like protecting children is a way that we have gotten away with not wanting to just address things in general, right? We always
Correct.
want to protect children. And I think built into protecting children is often protecting white children, especially protecting middle class and upper class white children.
Right.
And so this idea, right? First it was, right. I guess I don't even want to give an order. I want to say, we've also heard this exact same argument applied when it comes to teaching, history, right? It's like, well, how will we talk about racism? I don't fucking know. The same way that all the people of color have to talk about racism with their kids at young ages. Like we have to talk about it because it exists, right? So like,
yeah,
there's a part of it that's just like, I don't feel like you should be able to infringe upon people's human rights, period. But certainly not for the all important cause of this is a difficult conversation that you're not ready to have with your kids. Like,
right.
So what? And we see the same thing happening with sex, right? Like people don't want to have conversation about sex with their kids. And I'm just like, so what you're telling me is you didn't want to parent. And I mean, okay, sure. Like you don't want to parent, but how does that become my problem? Because
you brought this kid into the world.
You brought this kid into the world. You want to protect them. I get it. But it sounds more like you're not trying to protect them. You're trying to protect yourself from having to have difficult conversations with them about the world you brought them into. Because the conversation I would be having with my child would be, you see people sleeping on the street? Yeah, that's a policy decision. And every day, the people that we've elected and have asked to take this on as an issue have chosen that they don't want to, and that they're going to spend the money in other ways, and then they're not going to support these people, and that's a problem. And it would be part of my history lesson for the day of how we get screwed over when we don't think about basic human rights as a framework for all the ways that we invest our public dollars.
Period.
I assumed you had something
over.
to add.
No, I don't. No, I mean, this is certainly I think this is something that I could talk about for longer than we have to talk about. When you're listening to this, it's probably afternoon,
afternoon,
or morning, or evening. Whenever the fuck you're listening to this, I could talk about it for that whole time of day, and more. I think it comes down to absolutely policy decisions continue to keep people poor, keep people homeless, keep people oppressed, make sure to maintain just like wild amounts of injustice. And this is just another example where leaders, elected officials, are a squillion % abusing their power. And I also realize that a squillion is not a number, and it is impossible to have more percents than 100. So don't come for me.
Well, technically you can't have more than 100.
Here we go. The doctor's chiming in.
Okay, Flo.
Okay.
I mean, as a measure of comparison.
The scientist is in.
Just saying, as a measure of comparison, you can have more than 100%.
You can
started with, and then you can, right? Yeah. So
as a measure of comparison, this shit is 1 squillion % fucked.
Yes, I agree.
Okay,
it's 1 squillion % more fucked than it is in other places.
Now that was like that was just nonsense, because a squillion doesn't exist.
A squillion exists.
It was science.
Okay, well, what number is a squillion? How many zeros is in a squillion? If you can operationalize it for me, I will. I'm good with it.
A magician never tells his secrets.
Heard that.
Math isn't magic.
So
I
to
feel
you,
this.
so bring,
Bringing it back around.
I feel like this
Right
episode's
around.
gonna go a little long. Okay.
Ugh.
So we discussed how on a state level they're basically putting forward this legislation by a bunch of Republicans who are awful fucking people. But
I'm
this
just
is
shocked that Angelique hasn't joined her Senate colleagues in
I think we might
co-authoring
get
it.
there though. I think she may. So I'm interested to
Just
see where
give it
that
a little bit.
goes. Because Angelique Ashby, who is now Sacramento's new senator, she introduced this but 4 months ago here in the region. I'm interested to see if the new city council has the political will to overturn this, because I do think it's vile. I do think it's really a blemish on who we are as a city. So I'm interested to see that. But then B, we're seeing some political push already from the more fascist wing of the Democratic Party. This is in the form of Robin Swanson. Do you know Robin Swanson? She's like a Democratic strategist of something called Swanson Communications.
Well, I took a little bit of a look at her Twitter today, and
Mhm.
she seems like someone I would love to go to happy hour with.
She seems like just a peach, a wonderful
I
new friend.
100% we align, you know?
Uh-huh.
We're
Yeah.
just
Absolutely.
So basically she was like claiming like, which like she was quoted in this like B story about AB 257, the Hoover's anti-homelessness camping thing, basically saying that's what we want to do. And then like also she's on Twitter concurrently adding the mayor and council member Valenzuela. She of course lives in East Sac, the richest part of the downtown area, and trying to get them to sweep underneath the what highway is that, 99,
Mhm.
right by downtown, basically the only shelter a lot of unhoused folks have over in this part of town. She wanted them to sweep them because she's like, my kids are taking a walking tour to B Street and they won't be safe walking by these tents. Is that a good
yeah.
overview?
Mhm.
Yeah, and then proceeded to like anyone who was like, yo, that's a trash take. She was then like, I can't even think of a silly example of the shit she was saying. It
Well,
was
she
just
accused some of them of trolling, and it's like,
she accused a lot of
motherfucker,
people of trolling.
every
Yeah.
time Katie Valenzuela tweets, you're trolling her by just quote tweeting your shit. Like, you
I
know
mean,
how to contact her office.
she
Not
also
only
did
that, East Sac is not currently represented by the District 4 council member, it's represented
Right.
by the mayor. So what you're doing is basically, because she's a socialist, you're just bothering her. I believe that's what's happening here.
Oh yeah, 100%. It's just doing the thing that these folks do, which is, try to villainize this council member over and over and over again. The other thing that she did, which like, it's so tired and just like, it's exhausting as fuck that you bring up all this shit and you like bully people on the internet, and even though you know better in terms of how to communicate with an elected official, you choose fucking Twitter. And then she's like, but it's for the kids.
It's for the kids. Fuck you.
It's just that the kids aren't safe. And it, like,
again, implying that any tent, any person living unhoused is a predator to her children, right?
Right.
That is what these fucking people believe. That is who these people of Capitol and East Sac are. That is the problem here.
I have a problem with any group of people being criminalized just for existing. And that just, again, maybe a hot Black woman take, but
Yeah.
I have real issues with just like painting with broad strokes that people are criminals.
Imagine they're starting like what is it, a neighborhood watch thing out there in East Sac. Like,
Ugh.
who do you think they're going to find to be suspicious, quote unquote,
Right.
right? Like, what the it's the exact same shit over and over again, every generation, man.
Well, I mean, I also think like okay, let's take at face value. Let's say that you're just not a person who has spent a lot of time like deep thinking about this. And so this has face validity to you. You're like, hey, there was this person who did this thing, they happen to be unhoused. I'm really concerned because I just don't feel, comfortable around people who are unhoused as I'm walking down the street. I think the challenge of taking a group of people and saying, and criminalizing them is that it gives you a false sense of security about the people who are not part of that group. And so, just because there's so much of this happening, right? Like the idea that that the people who look like you and are in your tax bracket are somehow safer, when, let's be honest, the majority of college students who are experiencing sexual assault are not experiencing sexual assault at the hands of people who are outside their class bracket. They're experiencing sexual assault, given the demographics in college, from white men who are in college with them, right? And so the idea that you're out here saying, here is who is a predator, here is who you should be afraid of, does two things. It harms the people that you are, just kind of painting with these broad strokes, but it also then gives you a false sense of security when you're around people who you should have your spidey senses up about.
Right.
And so I'm not saying that we should paint any one particular demographic. I'm saying that we should think about safety in a much more nuanced way than just, oh, you look this way, therefore you're safe or unsafe. This binary is not serving us. We are in a position where we are actually putting ourselves in the face of, of harm, because we don't know what harm looks like, because all we've been given are some really, really dangerous talking points around who we should be afraid of and who we should be suspicious of.
But
I
these
mean,
talking points help us fund the police and get conservative Democrats into office.
Never mind.
Sorry, keep going, Shannon.
I was gonna say a thing that actually, never mind. Also, but yeah, I also think that like these folks are just completely unable to critically think about shit. Because for how long has this been like the method that they use to try to like organize against unhoused folks, or to like organize toward their own comfort? Like, criminalizing people, it doesn't fucking work. Like,
It's worked for them politically for over 30 years as Democrats, though.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. I guess I think what I'm saying is, in Sacramento,
Mm-hmm.
these folks over and over and over continue to try to like push these ordinances that criminalize unhoused folks, but it is not actually leading to the outcome that they want, because the crisis continues, right? And in fact, it doesn't continue, but it grows. And it's like this inability to see that like what you're spending all of your time, energy, and money on actually isn't producing the outcome that you have intended.
Mm-hmm.
And you just look like a fucking idiot. And I mean, obviously, like, we all are in the space of housing being a human right, and how do we address this crisis is through housing and services, but there are any number of other like potential solutions that these asshats could like rally around, that they just refuse to, because it's their comfort above anyone else's.
Here's what's funny though about what you're saying is because they're using the same language on us, right? Like,
oh yeah, right.
And again, this is something we saw Amanda Blackwood and Josh Wood do during the Measure O fight. Like, they look at this quote. Look at this quote by Robin Swanson, who I kind of think is just kind of starting to plant the seeds for a campaign basically against District 4 Council member Katie Valenzuela, right? Whoever they find in fucking McKinley Village or East Sac to like run against them. But like, here's what she says in this piece. Democrats need to find new solutions because what we're doing isn't working, said Sacramento-based Democratic strategist Robin Swanson, who supported Ashby's proposal last fall and took heat from progressives for doing so. Kids being able to walk safely on a school field trip shouldn't be a Democrat or Republican issue. If our sidewalks are littered with garbage, we're doing it wrong. No fucking shit, you fucking dolt. Like, but here's the thing, and here's the
So
thing.
clean up the garbage.
Who's Robin? How do we, if we sweep these folks, where will they go? How do we solve this? How do we solve it? We give them housing. We give them a place to go, right? I don't know.
It's exhausting. This shit is fucking exhausting. And that we continue to have to fight this fight over and over and over again. And it's just it's like a new East Sac Karen.
Every 3 months.
Time.
They make a new Twitter account, or suddenly it's some comms consultant. You're right. It's someone new every fucking few months.
Yeah, I mean, it's what's the strategy there? I think obviously the opposing side, I think and does the thing, which is to run into the fucking ground these assholes to where they need to continue to find a new Karen that's willing to hold up the torch. But it is also just infuriating that we continue to have to spend time on this, right? On the exact same shit over and over and over again, and we're fighting the same fight, and I guess that's just how it goes. History repeats itself and all that.
It's the same song, different lyrics. And honestly, sometimes we talk among ourselves as hosts and we're like, oh man, we're doing another episode on this. But sometimes you just fucking have to, because it's this is all people are talking about right now, and it's the solutions right there. So let's fucking do it.
Yeah, it will be cool when there's a time when we're what are we going to talk about on the show today? And it's actually we don't have to talk about homelessness. I mean, I don't think that's going to happen for a long time.
Not anytime soon, yeah.
Because we still got these haters.
Robin, you're on our radar now. Welcome to the Steve Maviglio Club. You're Maviglio level. You're flying high with the Voices River City crew. Trying to end the career of really good progressives in politics too on her Twitter account. I don't know if you all saw that, but it's some vile shit. And then she's claiming other people are trolls. Get the fuck out of here.
Sick vibes.
Yeah. When you have Tab Berg of Berg Communications retweeting you, something's fucking wrong there if you're a Democrat. It's not even okay. Can we do a little we haven't done many reading series lately.
We have not. You
And
know how much I love reading aloud.
We don't have much time, but let's do this real quick. Well, Flo, if you like reading aloud, do you want to read this piece?
Sure.
Okay, so Flo a few days ago sent me this piece. It's an editorial board piece from the Fresno Bee, right? And you sent it kind of to a group chat, and you're like, what are people's thoughts on this? And everyone was like, what did I just read?
Yes, I gave it to everybody with no with no lead in or response, because I just wanted to do a gut check of where I am, and just making sure that everybody was like, oh, that was really sweet. And I was like, oh shoot, I need to do a little bit of recalibration. And thankfully everybody was like, no, this was ridiculous. And I was like, okay, just making sure I still haven't lost touch with reality.
And I want to preface it too with writing on the editorial side, editorial board for McClatchy, I have read is very difficult. You're usually supposed to do a lot of reporting involved in your piece, and you're expected to do a lot of writing. And in an industry that is constantly in flux, it can be a very difficult thing. But I read this piece and I was like, what the fuck? let's not give anything away. So there's the first couple paragraphs here that I wasn't sure if we should read through, because they talk about some very very difficult loss of life shootings that happened.
Sensitive stuff.
Yeah, sensitive stuff. And part of what frustrated me about this piece was leading it in with that, so that I'm already feeling something, and then it's leading me through this. Can we start at I don't know, I think I was asking maybe paragraph 6 or so, after or around "This is where we live."
Yeah, that's exactly what I was going to say. Okay.
Okay, so this is the valley south of Sacramento, right? This is the
this is Fresno Bee. Yes.
Okay.
This is where we live. Ours is a valley filled with gang violence, domestic violence, fueled by white-hot anger and often drugs. The results? Murders, brokenness, emptiness, nothingness. The victims and defendants may have different names, races, and circumstances that set them apart from most of us in one sense, but they are human. As the poem says, no man is an island. We are all part of the main. Consider the valley writ large, the divides between educated and uneducated, middle class and poverty, white, black, Mexican, Hmong, Sikh, Indian, indigenous, Asian, straight, gay, trans, documented, undocumented. We all call this home. We all share this space. We all eat the abundant produce, see the winter snow-capped mountains, feel the warm spring sun, and bake in the summer heat. With each life taken, our sense of community is devalued. We may look away because it's too painful, but we can't escape the reality that our collective lives have been diminished. Our light is dimmer. But what can I do, one asks. The problems seem overwhelming. Let's face it, they are overwhelming.
Okay, at this point, I'm ready. I'm ready for you to lead me down the path to how we fix this, right?
Yeah.
Let's do it. And so, just before all of this, the 160 words we didn't read, we're talking about murder deaths that were very, very harmful to the community and very hard to learn and read about. And then we read what Flo just read, and it's kind of building us up to something.
Yep. Okay, let's keep going.
Yeah.
Poverty, drug abuse, emotional abuse, racial hatred, unemployment. Too many feel the sensations of worthlessness and the various forms of emotional, spiritual, and communal isolation. Too many feel unloved, unnoticed, and discarded. Outrageous crimes call for swift justice, but the path one takes towards heinous acts begins much earlier in life. So many in the valley suffer from a loss of hope. But thankfully, not everyone in this valley has lost that ability. If you are someone who cares, here's what you can do to make this valley better.
Okay, I've been listening to a Black Eyed Peas song. People killing, people dying. Children hurt, and you hear them crying. Now I think I know what the next lyric is, but can we read it?
So find just one person who needs encouragement, who needs a reason to keep going, and do your best to uplift that person. Do whatever comes naturally and for as long as it takes. If you can do just that one thing, that person can become the next one with hope, and they can pass it along to another hurting soul. Fresno has more than 500,000 people. Clovis adds another 120,000.
It's the Starbucks line. Are they telling us to do a Starbucks line?
Yes. And there are 10,000 people in this place with hope for living, with caring, with dreams. Are there 10,000 people in this place with hope for living, with caring, with dreams?
Oh, no.
If they invested themselves into broken family members or friends or work colleagues or even strangers, that would be double to 20,000 and so on. It can happen in English, in Spanish, in Hmong and Punjabi, Armenian, Chinese, and Russian. Heartbreak happens person by person. Rebuilding is one at a time too. This is for sure. Hope needs to happen in every neighborhood, every single neighborhood. Can we do this? Can we actually care about each other? We have to. We've already witnessed the alternative.
What is my fucking... So that's the piece, folks. Let's all just marinate.
From the Fresno Bee editorial board.
Yeah, so we don't know. Listen, if I wrote this, I wouldn't want my name next to it either. I get it. Yeah.
tomorrow, when I stop to pick up my morning cup of joe, I'm just gonna look to the person standing next to me, give them a wink and a smile, and pay for their cup of coffee.
That's it.
And then gun violence is done.
Mm-hmm. That's all it takes.
That is some fucking fucked up bullshit that it's so gross.
It's so bad.
Like, and also, I mean, I know we've said this already, but don't forget how it starts with like loss of life and gun violence.
Mhm.
And then they're like, you know what? But don't worry, because hope.
I mean, I said this to the group chat when Flo shared this. Like, this is to me the ultimate definition of the lib take, right? Like,
Mhm.
we have real systemic problems that are creating unspeakable amounts of human suffering, and our answer is to be nice to each
Just be
other.
nice.
Are you
Mhm.
fucking
Just
with me?
open the door for someone when you're walking into the bar.
Yeah, my take was
Whatever.
like, I just needed to do this like gut check because I was like, of course we should care about each other. Like, whoever said that's a bad idea? But you also just listed out some major structural issues that have
Yeah.
systemic root causes. And
Yeah.
as the Fresno Bee editorial board, you mentioned none of that. And then just told us to be nice to each other in Punjabi. Like,
Just like forget policy work, forget community organizing. Just like take care of yourself and be kind, you know.
It's so wrong-headed, but exactly what I would expect from a liberal periodical, I guess. I don't know. I don't know what else to say. Like, this isn't the answer, folks.
It just felt like it was like, you know, one of the things that we know is that when our physical and our emotional needs are met, like we tend to have more capacity to be loving and kind to one and trusting of one another, right? So that's not to say that people who don't have their needs met are not kind and loving and trusting, but it's just like it expands our capacity to be patient with people, right? Like none of us are our best when we're angry, hungry, tired, right? Like all of those things. And so I was just like, it felt a little bit like it was like blaming the symptom and not the cause, because we can be as nice to each other as we want to be, but it doesn't address these structural issues. And also, if we address the structural issues, by virtue of doing that, we would all be a little nicer to each other. So it's just like, what are we even? And also, it was just like, this is coming from the editorial board of a newspaper. Like, if this was like a group of fifth graders who were like, hey, we want to add some niceness to the world, I'd be like, oh, isn't that cute? I don't know if any of you have heard like the kindergartners offering encouragement where you call the number.
I love that.
And they're just like, hey, good job. Keep it up. If you're having a bad day, like, I love it. You know why? Because they're 5 years old and
Correct.
that is appropriate. And that is the type of thing we want to teach new humans to do and be in the world. And it's awesome. So I'm not mad at the message. Like, we should all be kind to each other. It just feels incredibly overwhelming, given that it's coming from a major periodical that is covering these issues and doesn't talk about what actual, like,
there was no policy involved. There was no action item. Like,
there was no like unpacking, no excavating, no.
Just like violence, huh? Like, shouldn't we love? Like,
violence sucks, right?
You know what this reminds me of? I'm gonna date myself, but I don't care. I loved The West Wing when it was on. And there is an episode where one of President Bartlett's Secret Service agents is killed in like this like altercation at a store or whatever. And his opponent, he's running for a re-election, and his opponent comes up to him and like offers condolences and then goes,
say, oh my God,
crime, gee, I don't know.
Yes.
And Martin Sheen's character, who was President Bartlett, says, that's the moment I decided I was going to kick your ass, because it's just the most like, you're running for president and your comment is crime, gee, I don't know.
Yeah.
These things are knowable.
There's determinants to how this stuff happens. Right. Like, even yeah, I don't. I love it. I love it. I think we've just got a great season ahead of us, folks, because apparently we've got to keep hammering down this fucking nail.
Man, we're gonna be so tired at the end of this season. Just like I already feel the fatigue from this hour-long show.
Yeah. I was saying that to somebody. I'm like, sometimes the show feels like it's the same song but different lyrics, you know?
Yeah.
And I don't want that. Listen, none of us want that. But like,
True.
these are the issues of our time in this state, and we don't know how many ways we can fucking say this. Like, keep bringing the experts on. I mean, that's a big thing to do.
Yeah.
But like, the biggie is like, keep supporting all of you out there doing the actual work, the frontline work in the streets, and see if we can't get folks elected on that other side, and like, see what can happen there, because I haven't lost faith in that regard, but we'll see how it goes here locally.
I also wouldn't want anyone to, after like listening to this show, feel compelled to go to Twitter and look up Robin Swanson. Like,
yeah, I wonder what her Twitter handle is.
Yeah, I wouldn't want anyone to find that out and like troll or,
let her know. It's not trolling if you're just letting her know that she sucks.
Just like facts,
yeah.
Science evidence, like, everyone's got a lot of work to do. And so I wouldn't want you to use your very valuable and precious time to go and do that. But,
she's a very important Democratic strategist. I don't think you want to waste her time.
No, God, no. Yeah. She's doing the Lord's work. We need to go.
Well, that's our show, folks. Anything we want to add before we end this?
Fuck the Republicans and the Democrats. Yeah. Am I right?
Am I right? Flo here.
Flo hates it here.
Oh my gosh, you all are just
welcome back.
Welcome back, everyone.
Welcome back. All back.
Right.
Well, man, I've been writing hella songs today.
Yeah, you're great.
This is a place where you're going to get all the takes and all the different opinions, and
couple of impersonations,
and we're always on our best behavior.
What is the deal with homelessness?
What?
I can't do it. I won't even try.
Oh, I can't even.
This week's episode, it's called Without a Roof. We went around and talked to folks about different situations where they found themselves roofless.
Oh my God.
Not roofless. Here. All right, folks, we need to wrap.
Am I going off the rails with Ira?
Yeah, we've lost it now. Y'all are great. Thanks for listening. Don't forget to go to patreon.com/River City. Bye.
Bye.